Welcome back. All right, so I want to actually show you a couple of things. This has to do with the performance of the API. Um, we're actually focusing on pagination of the API and be able to extract queries from API. You can do things like you can search, you can order, you can sort, right, and specify a particular limit in terms of the entries you want the API to return. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so basically I've set up a basic, Express server. You can see it here. And what we basically have is we're accepting origin. Ideally, you basically have to specify the domains you want, right? So never to worry. I will actually leave a link to this piece of project in the description as well. All right, so we're going to actually focus on some key things here. We have our course already set up. We have the get set up. So if I actually hit this route here, so I can definitely just go to my browser and hit that route. So locals 3000. So you can see basically we are saying the same thing we have within the that's already defined right here, right? So here we go straight to business. Now we can actually like create posts. I've created a very basic API. If notice, I'm not really like validating or doing anything. So we're just doing it for example's sake. So this is not the main thing we're discussing today. So we can definitely create API. So I can actually check out my, um, my insomnia, and then I can actually create as many posts as possible. Currently, let me see how many posts that's currently available. Okay, get. Something is wrong. Supposed to be more than that. Okay, find all blog posts that find all. What's going on? Okay, I think something is wrong here for some weird reason. Did I delete any posts? Refresh that. Oh, okay. Let's see what's going on. Oh, I see. So it's actually dropping the I think the database. It has to do with the settings. I think this actually happened. It deleted the entries in the DB. This actually happens in a very fancy way. So I think I should be showing you guys how to fix this error. So definitely go to your SQLizer.txt, and instead of actually having is it here? I think index, right? So it deleted my entries on sick because um, of this particular false true, right? You'll usually use that in text mode, not development mode. You can use this in development mode sync, right? So yeah. So basically, all I have to do now is to refresh this. Yeah, good. So I can just actually like view all the rows. So it should be empty by default. Verified could not be found. Okay, why is that? So refresh the entire table. Okay, so yeah, after run dev. All right, so wait for dev to start up real quick. Okay, we're good. That's the green light. So basically, I can just have to refresh this, have a new post, all the rows should be able to like see like an empty value. Very good. So you can see we basically have models, all defined, right? So we have the title and then we have the content. So we have a virtual feed here to basically calculate the words per minute in terms of the average read time of this particular article, right? So I'll go back to insomnia and try to basically create a new post, right? So we can just call this one. So we'll keep track of it properly. Send that through. We created one. Let's create as like 11. So I'll quickly run through that and create like 11 different posts. All right, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 7, 8. Then we have 9, 10. Oh my god. All right, 11. That's good. That's good enough. So basically, we have different posts up to 11 posts. So let's try to fetch them. boom, we basically have all the 11 posts. So this is the bad practice that we are going against. We don't want to return all entries in the DB. This is actually happening because if you check this out, the main request is actually eating it's actually fetching the entire post. So the goal today is to basically try to improve the performance of our APIs. So this effect might not be really noticeable if, for example, we have up to like a 10 posts. It might not be that noticeable, but if you have like 1,000 posts and been fetching them at the same time immediately, so that is a very like slow load speed. So that's something we're trying to go against today. So to actually go do this, I will actually introduce. There's actually a function I've created. It's called the extract query params. So here, which is just for not for the pagination aspect, but in terms it's actually helps in pagination as well, or in terms of the limits you are limiting by say 10 by default, 10 entries by default, but then you can actually put in your pages, page one, page two, etc. So you can search the articles as well by some fields, and so on and so forth, right? So you can order and sort. So I'll be making use of this particular little functions that I've created, right? So I'll go back to the main post. All right, I think that should be in the index, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, good. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to actually define that. Const, what we're going to call this is actually the query. Query is equal to extract query parameters, let's import it, and then we'll pass in the request. So it's actually taking request. If you check it out, it's taking the express request. So we definitely go back and yeah, not there. Let me close off the rest. Okay, so we know what our queries are. So then what we're going to do with this particular approach is to be able to make use of this query. So I've already actually designed something similar for getting posts. Yes, it's just like a basic function. So I'm going to copy everything here. So I'll go through each of them one after the other so you get a feel of how they basically work. Right, so I'm going to remove this real quick and then I will be adding here. So there's actually a try catch here, so you can as well just put everything within the try block. Okay, so we have our query. As you can notice, right? So our query basically is being used here. So this is our page. We're just getting it as number, right? Because SQLite basically just takes page as number. So that's why we basically have it there. All right, so we have said we don't need status, right? So basically I've designed, already like created some types. So I'm going to import this real quick. So this is actually the blog post model. It's actually generic. I'll show you how that works in a bit. We don't need this. You can just do console.log, right? Console.log this and then return. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, we don't need this as well. You can just do console.error and then return. Right. So we basically know, what we basically have, or we can just do, yeah, instead of doing console.error, we can do status. This can be like 500, right? So .json, return the actual, message. I think this is way better. It's way better. So we'll get to see it in the, as a request, right? Get to see it as a request. So the same thing actually happens here. Instead of results, we just want to return that actual value. So we can go straight up. Hope you guys can definitely see my screen. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I think it's better this way. All right, so there's something missing, and that has to do with this one, this bad guy. So we can actually do response JSON, copy that and put it around here, right? So what we want to do is we want to actually, get a hold of that error, which seems to be very significant in this case, right? So it's actually 400 is the fault of the user, right? So search, just in case you're searching, we'll worry about this, later on, right? So let me remove it for now. Okay, so I think that is basically it. First of all, let's try it out if it works. Send. Okay, you can see that we basically have the result. Boom. So you can see basically we have like 10 entries by default. 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So we basically have page 2. So we know that the limit here is definitely 10. And total elements we have is actually 11. So the total pages is 2 pages. So we can say, okay, right now I want to go to page 2. We can now do something like page equal to 2. So you can send this out and definitely get all the entries in page 2, right? So there's actually a previous page you can get to, which is page 1. You can definitely just go back to the initial page, right? So now we are aware of three key properties, which has to do with the result, the limit, the total element, and the total pages, right? So yeah, so basically now we understand that it works, right? And then if we want to actually say, oh, we don't need 10 entries per page, you can go ahead, you can even aggregate it, you can add the and symbol right there and do something like limit 11, right? So this definitely, let me do page 1. We need 11 entries. So if you send this, definitely this will not have page 2 because it's going to give us 11 for this page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is very brilliant. You can see what we have. So basically, you can play with the params like this. In this way, you basically improve the performance of your APIs. So go back to the code and go after it one at a time, right? So yeah, we basically just setting up. Yeah, so nothing much is going on here. We know what our pages are. So by default, the page is 1. By default, the limit is actually 10. Our order is in a descending order, and the sort we actually sort by the created at field. So it's equalized if you actually have a model and you sell these timestamps to true, it's going to actually create the created at field as well as the updated at. You might not notice this now, but if you check your model, let me refresh this. You can see that we basically have the created at and the updated at, right? So that's basically what is actually happening here. This is the created at. We're actually sorting by that particular field. All right. So if you actually specify a limit of 0, we are going to actually hit this error. So let's try that out. So we'll go back to I think our insomnia. So let's say the limit of 0, right? Let's send that. Okay, so I think if you actually put in a limit of 0, it's going to, I think we've already done it here. Limit of 0 here means it does not exist. It's going to actually set the limit to 10 by default. So there's no point having this here because this one will always take care, business, right? So there's no point having it there. So we'll go ahead and we play around with some of the generics we created. One of such is the paginate response. So I'll open it up. So what it basically has is just a basic generic. So it actually returns us the result, the next previous. These are the things you basically see, in the response of your actual API. So if you check it now, we basically have the result. Right, let me put it side by side. Though it's small, pardon me. So we have the result, have the next, right? So next is a paginate child and last page. That's what we have, see here page. Then we have the limit, right? We have the total elements, we have the total pages. For pages that has previous, you definitely have a previous field as well, right? So that's basically how the generic works. So whatever type we pass in here will be the actual type of our result. The types is mostly in arrays and array format. So if you actually pass in a post field, a post model here, it's going to return the post model just like we're doing here. We're passing in the post model, and notice a post model is this. This is the class of post model, text and title, and then the content, right? So that's basically what we have right there. So we're actually using this sequelize find all count all to basically get the rows as well as the count. So we're actually performing all the logic based off this information, right? So you can see, so the rows now is actually the result to the rows. So the result is going to give us rows. That means we already created the result field. I don't know if you noticed, this is the result variable. We already instantiated this, and then we say the result. We're actually pushing a result field into the result constant, and then we apply all the rows there. That means all the entries that we are getting, right? So that's basically how it works. So and then we'll go with index. An index is less the count. So basically, this is us trying to notice if there's a next page, right? So the end index is actually calculated by your page times your limit. So if, for example, your page, you're on your page 1, right? So your page 1 times the limit. If, for example, by default, your limit is 10. So the end index is going to be 10, right? So 1 times 10, that's 10 right there. So that's the essence of having the end index. But then we want to compare it against the count, right? So count comes from the, as part of the find and count all, right? So count is basically like a total element you have in your entries, right? So if your end index is lesser than this, that means it definitely has a level of like next pages, right? So then we just actually put in here and say, okay, the page, add on to the page is definitely your next page, right? So it's basically simple. It might not actually sound like it now, but when you start practicing, so you get to see how, how simple it is to basically implement. So for what about if you want to get for previous page? For here, this is what we actually consider the offset. So now look at it. The offset basically is your page. Remove 1 from your page. If, for example, your current page is 1, for example, take 1 away from 1, that will be 0, nothing left, times the limit. Limit can be 10 by default. So that's 0. It doesn't basically have any offset. But then take your page to be 2. 2 minus 1 is actually 1. So then 1 times your limit. So that means 10, right? So the offset there basically means 10. So if, for example, you're on page 2, 10 is greater than, 10 is greater than 0, right? So you're going to definitely have like the previous page. So that's basically how it works. And then it just follows the same procedure to apply for all other, pagination attempts. So then at the end, we're trying to like find the greater value between the count, okay, so if, for example, what you do is you divide your count by your limit. If you divide your count by the limit, you get a hold of your total pages. So your count is what we actually got from here, right? So your limit is what you set. It's actually dynamic. If you not provide anyone, set it to 10, right? So that definitely will give you the total pages. When you divide it, right? So owing to the fact that we don't want the total pages to be like some sorts of float numbers, like 1.2, 1.3, right? It doesn't really make sense. So we tend to actually try to round it off, to the greater nearest value, right? So if, for example, it's 1.3, automatically that's page 2. The total number of pages we have is 2 pages, not 1.3 page, because that doesn't really make sense, right? So there we definitely have to specify our limit, which is easy. The total elements in the collection is actually the count, right? So that's understandable. The total pages is what we just defined here, total pages. So then we return the entire result. So that's the point of we trying to get those values, just now, right? So you can go ahead and just add more to it. Let me add 2 more, 2, and then 10. Very good. So let's fetch it. But this time I want to only one of page 2, then limit just 5, right? So send that. So we should be expecting 5 entries. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Interesting, right? So we have the next page. The previous page is 1. The next page is like 3. I can just do, okay, let's go to page 3. Right, so that's basically how it works, right? So if you want to sort, here you can definitely sort by, say you want to sort by the title. You can do sort is equal to title. Okay, you can do title is equal to, yeah, I think I'm just sort equal to title. So you definitely be sorting by title. So that means you can see if we're actually sorting by the title, you can see the highest will be on the top. You can see that we have post 11 top, post 10, below it, post, I think we should have post 9, way below that. Let's see. Post 10. Okay, this depends on the way I'm sorting it, right? So I can as well remove all of this. So we have a clear picture of how the sort basically works. Okay, so push that on again. Yeah, very good. So we have, we're sorting this page 1, of course. So 9, right, 8, 7, 6, right, that's 5, so on and so forth. So that's how it basically works. So now with this singular attempt, you are in control of order. You can order the way you want, right? Okay, let's test out order. So let's order by well, basically I can actually order by ascending or descending order. So that is always equal to descending. So let's do ascending order, right? So by default, it is actually descending, like what we'll see here from like 9 to 8. So let's do ascending. Okay, so sort and then order equal to ascending ASC. So let's send that in. So meanwhile, what we're supposed to get is ascending. So basically, what do we have? It's one. I'm not sure. Okay, actually doing it ascending in terms of the entire, not in terms of the title, right? So depending on what you've already set here. So maybe I'll take that off, right, and test it out properly. So send that in. Yeah, so you can see we have 1, 2, 3, exactly. So that's actually the ascending type of the implementation. So it's basically just ascending all the way downward. So that's basically it for today. So I'll be leaving, a special. We'll be actually pinning this to the video itself, so that you guys can actually bootstrap the project and just start up basically what we have here. So it's very simple. What we're using here is basically an Express server. We're using SQLize, and then we're actually using a couple of other things as well, right? So I think that's basically it. Yeah, catch you.